Right, so in this video we're going to be talking about Alex Ross and his style of drawing, and we're going to be starting with this image of Superman here, which I have faithfully recreated. I'm going to go about changing it, trying to make it look more Alex Ross. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the torso a bit, because it's not, the essence of Alex Ross's style is basically making it look like a 60s TV show with very, very beefy actors. So we've got to basically take all the body shape and we're going to make it look very human. No sort of a beefy human, but a human nonetheless. So first thing we'll do is, we'll smooth out a little bit, make it a little bit more deep, a little bit more 3D, make it look like it's a photo of a person. And so first thing I've done is I've slightly narrowed the shoulders there because the initial drawing had them very, very wide. That was the comic style of 30s. So now we're also making the waist a little bit wider to make it look more human, adding a nice high waist to make it look like boxer shorts. Just going over the cape here, getting rid of some of those details. Because it's supposed to be like a costume, like a TV costume, the shirt has to have a sort of natural shape, so it's got a nice round neck, and it's a lot of the actual neck showing to give him that sense of power. One thing about Alex Ross and how he draws Superman is he gives a very, very wide symbol, like exaggeratedly wide, to really get that power across. Because he doesn't have all of the sort of comic fake muscles, he has to show power in another form, which is with a very, very wide symbol. I'll change the symbol later on because I don't like how it turned out here, but it's a sort of classical Superman S. That's the one you could find in the Christopher Reeves movie. Here, this one looks a little bit too much like the kind of more modern Henry Cavill one, so I'll change that later, but for now, that's what it is. Got some nice round, prominent shoulders. The original arms were a bit thin, so we're going to make them a little bit more muscly. Not like a bodybuilder muscle, more like a sort of weightlifter, strongman muscle, which is kind of the inspiration for Superman anyway. So very, very nice round biceps, nice round forearms. You'll notice that I'm adding wrinkles, it's very small wrinkles, because the idea again is that you're imagining it's one of those tight, I don't know what material it was, cotton jumpsuits from that they use in like the Batman TV series, and so you'll find very small, unprominent wrinkles. But it's important to add those wrinkles because that's the kind of style Alex Ross is making it. He's aware that the person's actually wearing a real costume. It's not the the fake tight-fitting ones of contemporary comics. So just going over the hand here again. Good, good. Okay. So I think now we're moving on to the legs. Not much to say here. Again, because it's kind of a real person, you want to add a bit of bulge in the crotch there. I'm going to make it a little bit more bulgy later on. And then the original drawing's legs were a little too lean. We're a little too lean. And Alex Ross doesn't really have such defined muscles, especially not for Superman. He'd have, what I'm doing here is like a very much smoother line for the legs. The Superman is never lean. He's definitely still got body fat on him, because it makes him look a little bit more like a strongman, which is the sort of, again, this classical inspiration of Superman, to strongman rather than a bodybuilder, because bodybuilders weren't really as popular back in the day that Superman was invented. And the difference is that strongmen often usually have a lot more body fat, protect their bodies. So that's something I'm going to give. Here I've made the muscles a little bit bigger in the arms, and I've gotten rid of the S. I don't like it, so I'm going to change it. I'm going to make a slightly lower waist because I think it was too high before. I made a little bit more bulgy crotch there again, make it look like a real like a real person, I mean. So making a nice wide symbol as before, a little bit narrower, and we're going to add a little bit more of a sort of classical S, like Christopher Reeves rather than Henry Cavill. So the difference is that this S is a little bit more narrow, doesn't stretch as far to the edges of the symbol shield. Still didn't come out amazingly, but it's fine for now, it's not too important. And we're just adding a belt here. Gotta have a belt, otherwise the pants would fall down, wouldn't they? Adding some boots. It's always quite hard to make boots look realistic. Normally, if you just you can't really do it in this particular image, but normally if you just add a sole to boots, they will look much more real. Like a sole and a heel. And then a few wrinkles around the around the ankle. So here we're going to redraw the face. One thing that Alex Ross does with his superheroes like Superman, he gives them very fat necks. You know, you don't have a particularly prominent jaw in Alex Ross drawings. They kind of stick out a bit, but then they have a really, really wide neck. Again, to make the character look more powerful. You don't have a thin neck, you have a wide neck. And then I'm not really good at drawing faces in the style of Alex Ross, but they're basically just supposed to look like old-timey actors. Very powerful, very wide faces, very, very square jaws. Quite a few wrinkles, not to make them look old, but just to make them look a little bit more experienced, I suppose. That nose came out a little bit too big, so I'm going to rub it out to make it a little bit smaller. Just making one nose, sharpen pencil there. Alright, because smaller nose makes him look stronger rather than cerebral. And yeah, so again, a lot of the things, because it's drawing rather than painting, and Alex Ross paints more than he draws, a lot of these things, there's a lot of things I can't really teach, so I'll have to do another video about painting. Here I'm going to do the hair. Again, very simple. I think a lot of Alex Ross's style is actually just being as simple as possible, and then making it look good with really good painting technique. So the hair, very, very simple. I've got one little flick there to make the spit curl that Superman is famous for. So we're basically done with the body shape. Now we've just got to get rid of that cape and make it a little more real. I'm not very good at drawing capes, to be honest. But few tips I can give: Alex Ross capes tend to be very, very thin material. You don't want them to look thick at all. The original drawing was quite thick. So you don't want to give them like a huge amount of substance. You want them to feel like really thin fabric capes. Now I'm adding the shadowing here. Alex Ross shadowing, it's very smooth, shall we say. It's not necessarily in hard shapes. You get a bit of fade out around the edges of the shadow. And it tends to be very simple. Because the body shapes themselves are so smooth, they don't have all the sort of small little muscles that are characteristic of bodybuilder type superhero styles. The shading is actually very, very simple. So you're seeing here, I'm just doing basically one thick line down the leg, down the torso and across the arm, because that's all there is. It's not a very complicated shape, you know, which is a blessing for people like me who aren't very good at shading. So I'm just finishing up here. It's a little bit faint now. You want them really, it would look nicer if it was painted obviously, but really the shadows should be nice and black. That's how Alex Ross likes to do them, especially in these kind of pin-up poses, I suppose. We're going to make that S look a little bit darker. One thing with Alex Ross, and this is because of the painting style, and something that can't really be done as well in drawing, but whatever, I'm trying, is that he doesn't really have outlines. And again, this is easier with painting, or at least with just, this is a black and white drawing, but if you have colour, you don't need outlines, and that's what he doesn't do. He doesn't have these sort of thick lines going around the body shape, so that's the problem with my drawing here, is that I've outlined all the shapes. But Alex Ross's style doesn't have outlines. It just has separation between two different parts owing to colour, or due to shading, or due to shape. So here I'm just making the hair a bit darker. I've added a little bit of shine there, because the idea is like it's a bit like an actor. And here we're done. I've just finished up, and hopefully that will help you if you ever want to draw in style of Alex Ross. Thank you.